Welcome to Doobies and Movies. I believe number 17. This is Mandalorian season 2, episode 7, which should be chapter 15, and it's called The Believer. I'm joined with my Star Wars expert Steve and the regular Joel, who has delayed proceedings. Joel had a new feature he wanted to incorporate into the episode. So, what are you smoking on, everyone?
Well, I'm smoking the Abracadabra today. Very nice CBD blend.
Yeah, just some normal amnesia for me.
Yeah, I reckon I'll be smoking some Amy later, boys, to be fair. I ain't got any on me now, but I'll be grabbing some.
Well, that was a good addition, that feature. Thanks, Joel. Okay, so back to the action. Another big episode of Mandalorian. Yeah, what did you think, people? Steve, how about you go ahead first?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, in terms of action and whatnot, I think it was still good. It wasn't the most action-packed. I mean, we've had the last two episodes have been pretty sick, but I'd say it's still up there in my estimation. It's still a banging episode, but I think the action was, because it was over such a large scale, it just wasn't so kind of it still had some really good bits, but I think the last two episodes I would say were slightly better, but still a really all-rounded episode. Had good plot, good action in it, and some really nice kind of throwbacks to some things within the Star Wars universe that I'll get to later when we get more into it, but definitely some good little shout outs and lovely little moments from previous films and whatnot as well in that.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm a believer, you know.
Well done. Yeah, you're a believer.
No, I fucking loved it. Honestly, I thought it was really good. I would say it's on par with the last couple of episodes. I thought the action was just so banging. I just loved all the action in it, and it was so funny as well. Just like all the Bill Burr, I don't know, the last two have been just not even did anything, but they've just been that little bit of darkness, you know. Whereas this one, I just felt so full of life. Like the scenery was all so cool. All the sequences were great. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, you know. Like maybe it wasn't as good as last two, but I just enjoyed it so much. So it was, such a funny and action-packed episode.
Yeah, for me, I agree with most of it. I think most of what I have to say is positive. I think Bill Burr was amazing. I've always wanted him to be brought back since season 1. I think he's one of the best comics currently in the world, and the fact that he's got himself now into the Star Wars universe, I think is sick. You can see that the little kid in him is so buzzing that he's in that show, and I thought he was hilarious. I think it was pretty much just they cast him as Bill Burr. When he's breaking down the contradictions and the hypocrisy and the tradition of the Mandalorians wearing the helmet, it's almost like he's doing a stand-up bit on religion or politics or something. It's very that is Bill Burr kind of being, I don't get it. Why are you doing like this? Why would you live like that? What's the? I thought that was all really good, and it was also good for Mando's character. On the critical side of things, I just felt I know there's a finale next week, but when they have so many characters and pieces on the board, sometimes I just maybe could have seen a bit more. I know the action was so sick, but there's just so many of them arrive on a planet, all 5, 6 badasses in their own right, and you didn't really get a fight incorporating all of them. I know that was the point. It was more a stealthy mission. I get that. But when you only get 8 episode seasons and the episodes are fairly short, I don't know. I think what I'm trying to think more is it maybe leading me to think in future, maybe Mandalorian needs more than 8 episodes, or maybe needs to do hour episodes, because I'm almost thinking that there should be more. And I think now that it's getting more characters and more content, they either need to up the episode count or the episode length. But
I kind of get that, but I don't know. I love how fun and easy the short 35-minute episodes are. I could have seen this one being a bit longer. You're right. It would have been cool to see them all doing some hand-to-hand together. But even the fight at the end, I know the 2 ladies are on the roof, sniping people. But yeah, so it's not like they're all there hand-to-hand. It's not like some big Avengers fight where they're all getting in. But I don't know. I still thought the whole end sequence on the rooftop was fucking wicked.
Yeah, I suppose it's just that
ending with Slave One, putting that bomb down.
No, I'm not dissing any of it. I'm just saying that was 38 minutes long.
Yeah.
and there's only one more episode left of the season. I just feel like that there could be more. I just feel like that it's in their wheelhouse to be more.
It genuinely could. But it's so tight the way it is. It's so tight. It's so fun. Like, you're not bored for a single second. So I do kind of agree with you, but I quite like it as a change of pace from all these, like, you know, the 13 episode hour-long Netflix Marvel shows we were getting. It's such a nice change to just have.
Oh, definitely, but evolve with that. One, there's not enough story. When it was season 1, it was mostly just 2 characters that you were following. It was perfect. Now they're up in the ante. I think that the episode length, at least doing more 50-minute episodes rather than half an hour and 40 ones, I think would be good for next season. Anyway, Steve, we haven't heard from you in a bit. What are you saying?
I was going to say, I 100% agree. I think if they made the episodes a bit more kind of variant between 40 and 50 minutes, I think it would. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the pace that it's 35 minutes, nice and easy to watch, and it's so they get a lot of dinner on those episodes, but I feel like they could just kind of pack it in with a little bit more. Like in that episode, the only kind of criticism I'd have is I felt like there were 2 kind of aspects of it that could have just had a little kind of like a little bit more depth to it. Like so like considering that Mando, this was like the first time in like Mando's life he had ever like not been in the suit, like since that he was a kid, since he'd been trained up by the Watch, since he had been, you know, Mando. Ever since then, he's been wearing that suit pretty much non-stop as part of his faith, part of being a Mandalorian, and part of, you know, who he is. And I feel like him just wearing that suit, don't get me wrong, like he obviously was quite hestant about it, and the fact that it was, you know, kind of played on about the fact that, Mayfeld, the character played by I've forgotten his name already.
Bill Burr,
Bill Burr, yeah. But played by him. So when he's, you know, joking around and saying, you know, I don't know how you see in these helmets and all that kind of shit. It is a really, really nice touch, and it is good to kind of like have like a little joke about the fact that Mando never gets out of that suit. But I feel like I don't know, it just kind of, it should have been touched on a little bit more about how much he hated to be in or to be out of that suit.
And I agree.
And I feel like also one other thing would have been the kind of touch between where you get when they're talking about so this is one of the things I was mentioning about earlier, when Boba and Mando are sitting down at that table with that Imperial officer and they're talking about Operation Cinder. I really like that touch because Operation Cinder was it's essentially like this Imperial plot after like Palpatine died, that they essentially just went round to planets that were Imperial, and if they felt like they wanted to, they just literally used like certain types of lasers on the planet and just burnt the cities and stuff on the planet alive, and literally just burnt entire civilizations to the ground, burning thousands and thousands of people. And you could see how Bilbers was so kind of like emotional about it, and I feel like if they were going to touch on that, I feel like they would have maybe just, I don't know, like I really would have loved, like, you know how like at the first season they had, they were talking about how Mando had that flashback of when he was a kid and the Watch found him and they found him in those suits and took him in, and then it flashes back to the present time. A flashback to like Operation Cinder or something would have been a fucking incredible touch. And that's the only kind of criticisms I've got of the episode. But
that would have been wicked,
I mean, other than that, I think it was still a really, really solid episode. And you're right, the action was really, really good. I just, because it was just so kind of like over a large scale, because obviously you had Fennec and Cara Dune on the mountaintop kind of shooting down. I would have loved to have seen some combat from Boba. I feel like Boba, like, don't get me wrong, he's obviously piloting Slave One. He obviously plays that plot in it. But I just would have loved to have seen some sick combat from Boba, because he already proved in the last episode he's still fucking got it. He's still sick.
Yeah, I guess that's why they didn't do it, because he had it in the last episode. But I agree, it would have been sick, like, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. I think one definite nice touch of that episode was that, well, actually two actually, about Boba, is one, when Boba is first seen coming off of Slave One to get Bilba, his suit is cleared up. His suit looks nice and shiny again. He looks sick again. It doesn't look rusty. It doesn't look like damaged or unpainted. It looks like it should again. And then also on top of that, the fucking seismic bomb that he used, like Jango Fett did in Attack of the Clones, the sound effect was there. It was fucking like, that was actually really, really beautiful. Because not only was that just a really sick scene in Attack of the Clones, that was like one scene that pretty much all Star Wars fans actually really fucking love. But on top of that, the fucking sound effect is beautifully.
Mm.
And it's just like just the little touch of that, and the fact
Yeah,
that
it's a
he's
little touch to his father, isn't it, to Django?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
nice.
So it's not only did we have that shout out to Django when he did the hologram in the last episode from his wrist thing, but we also got that one as well in this episode. So that was really, really nice.
No, that was sick. I picked up on that actually. But I just wanted to say about like the him taking off his helmet and the suit and everything. Like I do agree that they could have done more with that and could have made it really clear like how much of a big thing it was for him.
I think
But
Pedro
that's
acts it well, though.
I do, and I think that's the thing about the episode that really made it for me. It's almost a turning point in the whole series because this is the point at which he's willing to give up his whole faith, his whole tradition.
I agree
his
with
love
that too.
For Baby Yoda, you know?
Yeah, for Grogu, and I feel like
for Grogu, yeah, that's it.
I feel like that. I feel like that is clear as well. That they build up all of these times he hasn't done it, and then now he does it because he sees no other way. But I do feel, and I also I feel like Pedro Pascal when he is mask off, the lack of confidence he has, I feel he acts really well. Maybe Steve's right, and they could have had more focus on it. But he has this; he doesn't even know what to say. And I know the situation's scary, intense. But if he had the helmet on, he would have been more confident. He has this real he doesn't know what his identity is in that moment, and it's almost quite perfect story-wise that he's having to come up with a new identity, and he's totally frazzled. And Bill Burr or Mayfeld or whatever, he's got to like completely take control of that situation. I thought that was quite nice, and yeah, that's been it. What season 2 have done well, and why I keep wanting a backstory episode is because they're really trying to get you now. Okay, the world's cool, but we want to connect you to Mando or Din Djarin or whatever his name is. We want to actually connect you to him as a guy and why he loves Grogu so much, and he has this attachment to children. He went like when he passes the children in this episode, and he like feels bad for them. He obviously has this attachment of like wanting to protect and care, which seems a bit unlike kind of what he was doing before. So I think they're doing well with that as a whole, and his character development is strong. I just kind of want that extra push from his backstory and understand him more as a person. So because I'm wanting to connect to him now. That's the key. They've done that bit. Now connect me. Do that final bit where like he's my boy, and I don't want to see him get hurt. And that's the kind of thing I get with Marvel that I don't really get with Star Wars most of the time. Is like really not wanting them to get hurt. It seems so silly because they're just people on the screen. But like if Spider-Man's like on the floor going like I'm gonna actually like, no, don't fucking kill Spider-Man, bro. That's peak. And I want to get to that point with Mando, and I feel they are getting me to that point. And yeah, I think that was my point. We got a bit of Moff Gideon at the end when Mando gets his coordinates and sends him a hologram.
I thought that was a lovely touch. It's really building up to the finale. It's really showing that this is what the finale is going to be. It's literally going to be Mando, Boba, everyone fucking going for Moff Gideon, going for Grogu, and trying to get all that, that whole fight out of the way. Because that's been building up since season 1. And now we've kind of got this kind of clear path of it. Mando knows where he is. He's going to go get him. Boba's got Slave 1. And now that we know that he has those seismic charges, I'm almost certain that's going to play into it in getting to the ship in somehow, and like they're going to like get him from hyperspace. They're going to use that on the ship to like disrupt it or fuck it up or something, and then they're going to like board it or something along those lines. There's just going to be some sick combat in the next episode, definitely. And I agree with your point in saying that it made Pedro Pascal Mando much more human, because that was by far the longest time we've seen him without the helmet on. And you're right in saying that he acted really, really well in terms of that he looked like as if he felt naked without it, like as if he felt really, really exposed without having the face covering. So I think that's a really, really good point. And I think this episode generally has got a lot of the elements really, really well. And I think it's kind of shown the path in terms of what the finale is going to be really, really well. I would love to, what I would really, really love to happen is if Ahsoka and maybe even Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians got involved somehow, and they came to, because Bo-Katan made it clear in that episode that she appeared that she wanted the Darksaber, and that's what she's been after. And now Mando knows what that is. It wouldn't surprise me if Bo-Katan got involved and fucking came and tried to.
He needs all the help he can get.
Yeah, exactly. And Mandalorians are, as we've seen both from Mando and Bo-Katan and Boba Fett, in terms of that they are incredibly good at killing people, like incredibly good in the Star Wars universe. So in against an Imperial ship as big as Moff Gideon's is, and Moff Gideon himself having the Darksaber, having as many Mandalorians as you can will just guarantee a win. But it'd be interesting to see where they go in this next episode. I'm very keen for this.
No, it's got to be huge. Another thing I wanted to touch on as well was that the kind of main arc in this episode actually being Mayfield's, and it actually being almost what he calls almost like a therapy session, or him getting stuff off his chest by finally getting revenge on all those people, and then a quite nice touch where they then let him free because of that, say that they're going to tell them that he died on the battle.
Yeah.
And that was almost a nice touch because, again, it kind of runs with these themes of these people trying to find their way, I suppose, and it's a nice touch, and it felt almost a bit like a old Western or kind of The Punisher or that kind of vibe where, like, I'm coming to get you kind of thing, and he just turns at one point and just like, no, I'm fully just going to kill everyone here. And then he blows up the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
That was all quite sick. I hope they bring him back, if not a Mandalorian, in one of the other Mandalorian timeline shows. But yeah, other than that, is there anything we kind of missed out this episode, or is it just kind of the huge finale we've got next week?
I mean, I'm just looking over my notes, and I mean, the only thing that hasn't been mentioned is just the kind of. So they were talking about the fuel they were farming at that mine. It was Rhydonium. So that's quite a key kind of substance in the Star Wars world, because that's what they use for a lot of kind of fuel and stuff. And when you get to it in Clone Wars, you'll see kind of like the thing is like in that episode. The amount of Rhydonium that was there, it's almost kind of downplayed how big that explosion should have been. I understand it was still a big explosion, but when you see it in Clone Wars, the amount of like destruction that stuff can do is pretty like substantial.
Is it like starship fuel then?
Yeah, it's like, so Rhydonium is like the like key like fuel they use for like starlight travel and shit for all big cruisers, and then it's also used for other things. And then there's this one key episode you'll see in Star Wars. It's definitely in like the last, I think it's in Series 5 or Series 6. It's definitely one of the last couple of seasons. And there's this big episode about it, and you'll see it, and then there's, it kind of explodes, and it's fucking like enormous. So like I feel like that explosion could have been bigger, but I suppose it depends on like just kind of how excessive they wanted to go with it. I suppose maybe it was just more realistic to make it a slightly lesser explosion. I don't know, or maybe there was less there than I thought. But yeah, that's the only thing. Like, it's just a nice.
That is interesting. Also, Valen Hess, the name of the bad guy in it, commanding officer. Is he in anything else, or was he just introduced in this?
I don't recognise the name. I don't think he's mentioned in any kind of like at least TV or film series. I don't think so, because he was positioned with Bill Burr, and like he was involved in like Operation Cinder and that. The only time Operation Cinder has actually been mentioned in anything other than kind of like Star Wars lore, it was actually mentioned in like the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 game. But that's it. There's nothing else like in like kind of like on Fresh TV and shit about it. So it might well be that is kind of like his debut. The name just doesn't ring a bell, but I may be wrong. I may just need to double check that.
No, fair enough, but it makes sense if they still bring new people in. Also, the director and writer of this episode, which is only the second time this changed writer, and that was for Dave Filoni in the Ahsoka episode, was Rick Famuyiwa, who I think he did the second ever episode of The Mandalorian. And he's directed and wrote. Oh wait, maybe I'm wrong. I am wrong. The sixth ever episode of Mandalorian, he actually co-wrote and directed. So it had happened before that Jon Favreau didn't write it, but it's very rare. But it's interesting. So the whole reins were given to this guy, and I haven't actually seen any of the movies he's done. I'm looking through it now. But he's obviously someone who they have a lot of trust in if he's been given obviously the reins to write and direct and direct a third episode now of Mandalorian. So yeah, big up him. He did a really good job. And yeah, I think yeah, it's just the kind of oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention. We obviously got loads of fucking announcements last night. But obviously for this episode we want to kind of focus on the Star Wars ones. So and just kind of say what you guys are most excited for out of the upcoming Star Wars projects and any kind of links to Mandalorian that they could have. And then we can kind of do our rating. So yeah, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited for all of them, really. I mean, I'm a Star Wars G, so like I can't not. But yeah, so like I don't know, like I'd say out of all of them, I'm definitely most excited. The top three would definitely be Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Boba Fett, and I'm still excited for the rest. But the reasons why is obviously we got that announcement yesterday that in Obi-Wan, Hayden Christensen is going to come back as Darth Vader, which I think is
that's a big announcement.
Yeah, that's a big announcement. And don't get me wrong, like I hoped it would happen, but I didn't actually really anticipate that it would. But the fact that it actually is really, really sick. I'd also really I really want to see where Boba Fett's going to go. I want to see where he's going to go with his story, and I also I want to see what Ahsoka does, because I've watched Clone Wars for years, and then I watched Rebels for years, and now obviously Mandalorian. I'm a big fan of Ahsoka, so I just want to see what her story is going to be.
Yeah, and Rosario Dawson can definitely lead a show. She's definitely got the
100%.
presence.
She does well.
What about you, Joe? Favorite announcements? Because now,
I just can't wait for Hayden Christensen, to be honest. That's that's what I'm about. I think it's hilarious and I love it. I mean, the Obi-Wan show is going to be
it's a nice touch, definitely.
I think it's fantastic. But yeah, like you say, hopefully they get James Earl Jones. He's still kicking.
What?
No, James Earl Jones is still alive. Yeah, he's still alive.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense if suddenly his voice wasn't James Earl Jones.
No, totally. I'm sure they will.
They even if James Earl Jones wasn't alive, they would kind of I think they would just synthetically create it. They would just yeah, he's still alive. He did the voice for Vader in Rogue One, so I mean, he's still around.
Oh, cool.
So he will be about.
Oh, okay, wicked. Yeah, no, I can't wait for it. It's gonna be great.
No, that is definitely the one I'm most excited for. Obi-Wan, obviously Boba Fett and Ahsoka. There's two shows, Ahsoka and was it the some fucking fighter thing? The ones that are linked to Mandalorian.
Oh, Fighter Squadron.
No, that was the film. It was
Republic.
Yeah, New Republic or something.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is they're saying that those three shows are linking to one big story event. Whether that's a film or a show, we don't know. But that's important in terms of Mandalorian to say that there really is an end game. The IGN little breakdown went into how it could be to do with Thrawn. And link in Rebels and everything and do a big finale with Thrawn. We'll see, which puts a lot of pressure on casting Thrawn because Giancarlo Esposito is one to beat in terms of presence as a villain. But there's a lot of things to be excited about just in the Star Wars world, but obviously all the Marvel stuff they made, but there's another place and time to talk about all of that. But yeah, what was your rating for this episode then?
I mean, just before I go on to I was going to say just about Thrawn. Yeah, I hope they cast him well because he's supposed to be really sinister. So if they cast him really well, I'd be really happy with that. But yeah, so on my rating, I'd say probably an 8.5. I'd say still a solid episode. I'd say not quite as good as the last two, but I mean that's just my view of it. I think I'm just a bit hard to impress when it comes to Star Wars combat sometimes. But yeah, 8.5.
Safe, Joe.
Another solid 9 from me.
Yeah, it was an 8 for me. I loved all the Bill Burr about it. I loved the episode in isolation, but I do think that it was the weakest out of the last three. Well, yeah, thank you for joining Doobies and Movies. Keep smoking doobies, keep watching movies. Check on adultratedreviews.co.uk, unscripted, unedited, unadulterated. Big up Cuff for that one. Like and subscribe to the page. Love and vibe every day. We'll be back on your screens. Unfortunately for his Dark Materials in a couple days. Fucking hell, man. But no, we got one more episode of Mandalorian. and we'll try and go big, try and get as many guests as possible, try and go in, because we won't get it for another year. So big love. See you later, everyone.
Big love.
Peace.